The question a lot of investors are asking is, where does the next Nvidia type of investment growth come from? And quantum computing stocks could just be that opportunity. A recent report by Morgan Stanley said the market could grow to be over $100 billion by 2040. This is absolutely massive growth when you consider the current size of the market is only around $1.8 billion. So, we could see a huge rally in stock prices that benefit from the whole quantum computing space. In fact, we've already started to see this happen. Quantum stocks rallied in December last year after Google announced its Willow chip, and the stock price of one of the companies in the industry called Quantum Computing Inc. has now gone up over the last 12 months by over 2,000%. So let's look at 4 top quantum computing stocks from my research. I've looked at each of the stock picks using a scorecard to rate their performance. The first stock on my list is IonQ. They're a leader in the quantum computing industry, and they provide advanced hardware and software solutions to tackle complex problems that normal computers would struggle with. They already have strategic ties with Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, so they're already working with some of the largest companies in the world. If we look at their scorecard, IonQ's revenue has grown by 70% over the last 12 months. However, they're spending roughly 6 times more on operating expenses than they earn, which is not surprising given the amount they spend on research and development at this stage. Spending lots of money on research is very common in the industry, as most companies are still in early stages of growth. But I think importantly for IonQ, their operating margin has been gradually improving, which is a positive sign for the company to be able to scale commercially and be successful in the future. Quantum computing stocks are volatile and will continue to be as the industry formalizes over the coming years. We saw in January and February large pullbacks, but overall the IonQ stock price has gone up by over 400% over the last 12 months. The second stock on my list is Quantum Computing Inc. This company is also developing quantum hardware and software, but they aim to sell directly to companies rather than going through larger players like Microsoft and Google to reach customers. The company is also pursuing a different path compared to some of their peers, as they're focused on something called photonic quantum computing, instead of the supercomputing technologies that companies like IonQ are researching. And this focus by quantum computing has led to some really interesting partnerships, including recently signing a 5th contract with NASA. If we look at Quantum Computing's scorecard, their revenue has grown by over 40% over the last 12 months, albeit this is from a small base. They're very much in the research and development stage at the moment, so they're spending a lot more money than they're earning. Quantum Computing has over $100 million in cash and only $1 million of debt, so this is very small in comparison to their cash reserves. They've funded their operations by doing private placements and selling shares to institutional investors. Quantum computing's stock price has also seen huge growth and has gone up over the last 12 months by over 2,000%. Part of the reason why quantum computing has been one of the best performing stocks in the industry is that it has a relatively small market cap at just $3 billion, and it's much easier to double or triple in value if you're a small stock. For example, for quantum computing to get 100% growth, it would have to go from $3 billion to $6 billion. Whereas for Nvidia to do the same, it would have to go from 4 trillion to a massive 8 trillion. Although it's definitely a big stretch to compare quantum computing to Nvidia, there have been some really positive signs for their future potential with the recent announcement that they completed the construction of their photonic chip foundry, and the management team expects revenue to begin to really start to ramp up next year once it begins production. So I think if they can commercially scale their operations, then there is massive growth potential with this stock. Okay, that wraps up my second stock pick, and we're just over the halfway point in the video, and I've still got 2 more stocks to reveal. If you're finding this video helpful, please subscribe to my channel, as I'm just starting out on YouTube, so I really appreciate your support. Alright, let's get going with the rest of my video. The next stock on my list is Rigetti Computing. They design, manufacture, and operate quantum processors, and they've formed key partnerships with tech giants such as Nvidia, Amazon, and Microsoft. Rigetti's focus is on the essential hardware and infrastructure that the quantum industry requires, and this is historically where we have seen tech companies do very well. In past technology waves, it was often the infrastructure builders that benefited the most. Cisco supplied the backbone for the internet. We've recently seen Nvidia power the rise of artificial intelligence, and now Rigetti is aiming to do the same for quantum computing. If we look at Rigetti's scorecard, at surface level you may be thinking, why has it made it on the list? Their revenue fell to $1.5 million, and their operating loss came in at a hefty $21.6 million. But the real story with this stock lies in the foundation being built. Rigetti now has over $500 million in cash and investments and has zero debt. And this mountain of capital is really important for them to be able to hit the next milestones to commercialization. Rigetti is another one that has seen huge stock price growth, going up by over 1,000% in the last 12 months. The final stock on my list is D-Wave. They've built some great partnerships recently, including with Carahsoft Technology, which enables US federal agencies to procure their solutions via existing government contracts. So that could turn into a big opportunity for them in the future. D-Wave also have a long-standing partnership with Lockheed Martin as part of multi-year national defense contracts. If we look at D-Wave's scorecard, D-Wave's revenue jumped by over 100% in the last 12 months, thanks to blockbuster sales in the first half of the year. Although D-Wave currently spends more than they earn, recent revenue growth has significantly narrowed losses, and the Q1 sales performance looks like it marks a shift toward better margin dynamics going forward, which is really important for D-Wave to be able to scale profitably. D-Wave's stock price has also seen huge growth, going up by over 1,000% in the last 12 months. I think this is a really exciting company that is doing big things in the quantum computing space, and they're definitely one to watch. So that wraps up my top quantum computing stocks. One thing that I'll call out is that I've focused on pure play companies, and by that I mean these companies only provide quantum-related products and services. But there are larger companies like Google and Microsoft who are also investing in the quantum space. So these types of companies would be an alternative way to get investment exposure to this industry. You may be thinking, well, is it too early to invest in quantum computing companies? But remember, the stock market is forward-looking and prices in the financial performance that it expects to come. So by the time we get there, this opportunity will already be long gone. I think if you invest with a long-term growth mindset and you're comfortable dealing with the volatility of an industry which isn't very mature at the moment, then you could make massive returns on your investments. I think it's really important when considering whether to invest in quantum computing companies to look beyond the hype and focus on what the data is actually telling you. It goes without saying, make sure you research your investments so you understand what you're buying. This video is not investment advice, it is for educational purposes to help you on your investment journey. So that's it from me. If you found this video helpful and you want more content like this, then watch out for my next video on what to do with your investments before the beginning of August and the end of the tariff pause. And before you go, please subscribe to my channel, give the video a like, and I'll see you next time.